ATK Scotty just received a devastating sentencing that got even his father breaking down in tears.
To hear that, it's just like, oh man, like I think I really need an oxygen tank right now. I can't breathe.
Apparently, ATK Scotty snitched on his homie Ksoo, and that decision led to a chain of events no one saw coming. So what exactly went down? Let's break it down. Courtroom betrayal, when family turns against family. Yo, real talk. July 31st, 2025 was the day the whole Jacksonville scene got flipped upside down forever. When that judge dropped that gavel in that Duval County courthouse, it wasn't just another case closing. It was the end of everything these young bulls thought they knew about loyalty, the streets, and keeping it 100. What went down in that courtroom wasn't just some legal proceedings, man. It was straight up family destroying family, and the whole hood watching it all crumble in real time. ATK Scotty, real name Leroy Whitaker Jr., just heard them words that gon' haunt him till his last breath. Guilty of first-degree murder. Them 12 people in that jury box took 30 minutes, fam, to decide his whole life was over. But check this though, what really had the whole Jacksonville drill scene shook wasn't just the verdict, nah, it was how they got to that verdict. See, in the streets, we got this thing called no snitching, right? That's supposed to be the golden rule, the one thing that separates the real ones from the fake ones. But when them walls start closing in and that life sentence start looking real, apparently all that street code goes right out the window. The prosecution came through with a whole parade of rats, and the main one leading the pack was Dominique Butta Barner, the same cat who was riding shotgun when they allegedly smoked Lil Buck. Dude literally testified against Ksoo and ATK Scotty in exchange for a reduced sentence. He detailed the plan. They started with an initial stakeout at McCormick's apartment. Then they shifted to the shopping center, and Ksoo had the role of the shooter.
To add to that, don't ever trust no named Butter. I'm sorry. All the Butters are
Butter straight up spilled everything, and I mean everything. This wasn't no half-stepping, this was full cooperation mode. Barner admitted lying initially, but provided specifics on the group's actions, including a surprise phone call where Ksoo confessed intent to kill. Homie had them prosecutors eating out his hands, laying out the whole plot like he was reading from a script. But yo, if Butter's testimony was a gut punch, what came next was straight up nuclear. See, there's levels to this snitching game, and what Abdul Robinson Sr. did, that's some next level generational curse type betrayal. This man really got on that stand and pointed the finger at his own flesh and blood. Abdul Robinson Sr., Ksoo's father, testified against his son, confirming he picked up the group after the shooting. This was a major betrayal, and the news is spreading like wildfire across media coverage.
Now, when you watched that video of the murder of Charles McCormick, did you recognize the shooter?
Yes, sir.
Who was the shooter in that video?
Hakeem Rose.
Your son, Hakeem Robinson.
Yes, sir.
The footage was played in court, and bruh, when I tell you the whole courtroom went silent, you could hear a pin drop. This wasn't just some street dude flipping. This was a father literally serving up his son's life on a silver platter to save his own skin. His father, Abdul Robinson Sr., is testifying against him via plea deal, having identified him as the shooter from dashcam footage after aiding the escape. The hood's reaction was immediate, and it was brutal. Social media went absolutely crazy, and I'm talking about that raw, unfiltered Jacksonville anger. People couldn't believe what they were seeing.
This is a completely different generation. And to be honest, I don't even understand why is still going on. Why is this street still so prevalent?
What made this betrayal hit different was that Abdul Sr. wasn't just any random cat word on the street, he was basically running the whole ATK operation. Abdul Sr., age 51 as of 2022, is implicated in 2 murder cases as an accessory after the fact, with allegations tying him to a violent drug trafficking organization known as ATK, where he is believed to be a leader. The defense tried to fight back, but man, how you supposed to overcome your own pops telling on you? Defense argued discrepancies in shooter description, Barner's self-interest, and lack of direct DNA weapon evidence create reasonable doubt. They was fighting an uphill battle from jump. The lawyers was really trying though, painting Butter and them as unreliable witnesses who would say anything to get their own charges reduced. Defense paints witnesses like Barner as paid assassins, framing Ksoo for rival Young Gene Ace's benefit. But when your own daddy co-signing the prosecution's story, ain't much you can do. When that verdict came down, ATK Scotty's pops was completely broken. You could see the pain in that man's eyes, knowing his son was about to spend the rest of his life in a cage.
All of it. Being here is hard. You know, I don't have strength right now. I don't know.
The man was talking about feeling like he needed oxygen just to breathe. ATK Scotty's father expressed concerns about jury composition and the speed of deliberation, suggesting bias in the proceedings. He felt like the whole system was rigged against his boy from the start.
I mean, already been empty from day one. So, you know, to hear that, it's just like, oh man, like I think I really need an oxygen tank right now. I can't breathe.
Meanwhile, Ksoo was going through his own emotional breakdown. Ksoo appeared stunned, covering his mouth, removing glasses, and shaking his head. He broke down in tears upon hearing guilty. Seeing a young bull who used to talk all that tough talk in his raps just completely fall apart when reality hit. The crazy part is how the streets was reacting to all this snitching. Online discussions on platforms like Reddit and X reflect speculation about perpetrators and criticism of how his death has been exploited in rap culture, with some viewing it as perpetuating violence. People was debating whether all this cooperation was necessary or if it was just cats saving themselves. But real recognized real, and what everybody was starting to understand is that all that ride or die talk was just that talk. When them feds or that state attorney come knocking with them heavy charges, suddenly everybody become a choir boy.
And to them people got you, and you looking at 30 or 40 years. Then it's a whole different ball game. That's when you gonna see who, what, when, or what. That's when you gonna see who has the cojones.
The truth was harsh, but it was real. When you looking at spending the rest of your natural life in a cell, them bonds of loyalty start looking pretty weak. Prosecutors allege that 99% of those involved in street life will ultimately cooperate when facing significant prison time.
That's when you gonna see who really is about that street life, that street that they be talking about. And believe me when I say that 99% of those guys are not about that.
As them courthouse doors closed and them shackles clicked, it became crystal clear that this whole no snitching code wasn't worth the air it took to say it. When push came to shove, everybody was looking out for number one, and family loyalty went right out the window. But yo, to really understand how we got to this point where family was destroying family in open court, we gotta go back and look at the bloody trail that led to this moment. The deadly chain, how one murder led to another. Hey, check it. What happened in that courtroom didn't just pop off out of nowhere. Nah, fam, this was the end result of a murder chain that had been building up for years, where everybody that dropped demanded another body, and every funeral just led to another funeral. To understand why ATK Scotty and Ksoo ended up in them orange jumpsuits, we gotta rewind this whole movie and see how one killing led to another, creating a cycle of violence that would eventually consume everybody involved. The whole bloody mess really started jumping off on January 16th, 2019, when Willie Addison, known in the streets as Boss Goon, got his wig split outside Paradise Gentlemen's Club. Willie Addison, performing as Boss Goon, was an aspiring rapper in Jacksonville, Florida, who was fatally shot on January 16th, 2019, at age 25. The shooting occurred in a silver Chevy Tahoe, carrying Addison and 5 others, including his father, Abdul Robinson Sr. Boss Goon wasn't just another casualty in Jacksonville's ongoing war. This was Ksoo's blood brother, and that boy was really trying to make something of himself with this rap game. Addison had recently been released from prison in June 2018 after serving a 6-year sentence for burglary and perjury convictions. Homie was fresh out the pen, trying to turn his life around through music, but them streets had different plans. The shooting that took Boss Goon was straight up execution style. The attack wounded 5 others, including Ksoo's father, Abdul Robinson Sr., and was attributed to KTA members as retaliation in the ongoing beef. They didn't just shoot him, they made sure everybody in that whip felt it, turning a family outing into a bloodbath. But yo, what really set everything off wasn't just the murder itself, it was what happened afterward. See, in drill rap culture, when somebody gets smoked, the ops don't just celebrate in private. Nah, they make whole songs about it. And that's exactly what Lil Buck did. Lil Buck released a diss track shortly after Boss Goon's death that directly mocked the killing and implied KTA involvement.
Now, Bibby passes away and Foolio releases a record titled Bibby Story.
Right.
You know, he addresses people thinking that he set up Bibby.
This diss track wasn't just disrespectful. It was like dancing on a grave while the family was still mourning. The track was perceived by ATK as not just mockery, but a potential admission of KTA's role in Boss Goon's murder, prompting immediate retaliation. In the hood, that type of disrespect can't go unanswered, but Boss Goon's murder was just one link in a much longer chain. The violence had been brewing for a minute, and it all connected back to February 25th, 2019, when another young life got cut short in what would become known as the Bibby situation. Adrian Gaynor Jr., known as Bibby, was only 16 years old when he caught them bullets at Hilltop Village Apartments. Adrian Denard Gaynor Jr., commonly known as Bibby or Lil Bibby, was a 16-year-old high school student and aspiring rapper affiliated with KTA. What made Bibby's murder extra tragic was that this was just a kid who was still trying to figure out life. He was described by friends and family as joyful and close to Julio Foolio, whom sources refer to as his little brother or close friend. Shorty was still wearing his school uniform when they took him out, showing just how young and innocent he was in all this madness.
I'm like, look, bro, I love you, bro. Be safe, you know? And that's how it always ends.
Julio Foolio, who was tight with Bibby, described the devastating impact of losing his little homie. You could hear the pain in his voice when he talked about their last conversation.
I get a call, a shooting just happened in Hilltop. I don't know. I'm not even thinking about him at first. I'm like, damn, because it's regular. Like, she was always having.
Bibby's murder sent shockwaves through the KTA camp, but it also started another cycle of that get-back mentality. Word on the street was that Ksoo was the trigger man behind Bibby's death. Hakeem Robinson, a 23-year-old Jacksonville rapper known as Ksoo and affiliated with ATK, was arrested in March 2020 and charged with first-degree murder in Bibby's death. What made Ksoo's alleged involvement even more cold-blooded was how he allegedly bragged about it afterward. Ksoo posted multiple videos and messages mocking Bibby's death, including taunts like smoking Bibby. He even dropped a whole album called Bibby Out with pictures of dead KTA members on the cover. Bibby's pops, Adrian Gaynor Sr., spoke about how devastating it was to see his son's death turned into a joke and content for social media.
He kept broadcasting it like he was that. Yeah, I killed Bibby. I killed Bibby. Now you're in jail.
The older Gaynor's pain was real as he watched his son's death get turned into entertainment and bragging rights. Bibby's mother, Elizabeth Gaynor, has publicly expressed distress over these taunts, noting how they exacerbate her grief and force her family to relive the trauma.
Take your time as a man. The same way you broadcast it, take it on the chin, you know, because I got to take it every day. You know,
this whole pattern of murder then brag became the signature move of Jacksonville's drill scene. These young bulls wasn't just taking lives, they was turning them murders into music videos and Instagram posts, treating real death like it was just entertainment for their followers. The chain reaction kept going with increasing intensity. Every murder demanded payback, and every payback spawned another murder. The violence wasn't random street beef, it was personal, calculated, and methodical. The broader gang feud involving ATK, KTA, and 6 Block has been linked to other murders, with online discussions speculating about connections between various killings. By the time Lil Buck got smoked in January 2020, the body count was already out of control. This case is part of a broader pattern in Jacksonville's gang wars, where over 100 murders since 2018 have been linked to rap beefs between ATK, KTA, 6 Block, and others. The hit on Lil Buck was inevitable to anybody who was paying attention to the escalating beef. On January 15th, 2020, Lil Buck was ambushed and fatally shot in broad daylight at Dames Point Plaza on Merrill Road, Arlington, Jacksonville. The fact that they did it in broad daylight at a busy shopping center showed just how brazen and out of control the situation had become.
For the life of me, I don't know why you would commit a murder and then go on the internet and brag about the murder. It just makes absolutely no sense.
Fulio expressed what a lot of people was thinking. Why would you commit a murder and then basically confess to it on social media? But that's exactly what was happening in Jacksonville's drill scene.
Yeah, I mean, when I read that, I'm looking at it going like, this just makes no sense. Like, why, you know, a murder has no statute of limitations. Period.
The investigation into Lil Buck's murder revealed just how much planning went into that hit. Minutes later, a home invasion occurred nearby where suspects, including Dominique Varner, assaulted a woman and changed clothes. They had escape routes planned, disguises ready, and backup plans in case things went sideways. The evidence against ATK Scotty and Ksoo was overwhelming once them prosecutors started putting it all together. Key evidence includes dash cam and surveillance footage showing a mass shooter chasing Lil Buck, with forensic analysis using 3D body scans, stride length, and motion to match Ksoo. They had video, they had witnesses, and they had physical evidence putting both defendants at the scene. But the most damaging evidence was what they did after the murder. Post-murder Instagram posts included a Lil Buck video clip captioned "Bye, bye," with waving emojis and "killing then go get my toes done." These posts showed not just a lack of remorse, but an active celebration of the violence they had allegedly committed. This whole murder chain didn't happen in isolation. It was part of a larger cultural shift that had turned Jacksonville into a war zone for young black men. But to understand how this culture of violence developed and became so normalized, we need to dig deeper into the historical roots of the beef between ATK and KTA. The feud between ATK and KTA. Yo, the bloodshed that eventually put ATK Scotty and Ksoo behind bars wasn't some random street beef that just popped off overnight. Nah, fam, this was the inevitable result of a decade-long war that had been brewing in the streets of Jacksonville. A conflict so deep and so personal that it would eventually turn an entire generation of young black men into casualties and transform a city's hip-hop scene into a real-life battlefield where rap bars became death sentences and Instagram posts served as murder confessions. To really understand the magnitude of this tragedy, we gotta go all the way way back to the genesis of what would become one of the most destructive gang wars in modern American history. The all-out war between ATK, Ace's top killers, and KTA, Kill Them All. This wasn't just about territory or drug corners. This was a cultural phenomenon that would completely blur the lines between entertainment and homicide, turning real grief into viral content and authentic pain into profit. The feud between ATK and KTA likely began in the early 2010s, with both gangs emerging in Jacksonville's urban landscape. ATK came up first, with cats like Abdul Robinson Sr. and Youngin Ace holding it down, positioning themselves as the neighborhood's protectors while using violence as their primary tool. KTA emerged as the response, linked to Julio Fulio and the 6 Block crew, known for being aggressive with their recruitment and quick to retaliate. The transformation from neighborhood politics to all-out warfare can be traced to one specific moment that changed everything in Jacksonville forever. The deadly phase of the feud is widely believed to have been sparked by the killing of Zion Brown, an 18-year-old cousin of Julio Fulio, on May 27, 2017. Brown got his wig split in a home invasion on Jacksonville's west side by DeAndre Jaquez Thomas, a young bull who was tight with ATK and ran with Youngin Ace.
You know, like, he don't talk like that. He just smile. He just smile and just chill. He ain't no talking like that.
But Zion Brown's murder was just the spark that lit the fire. What came after was a systematic campaign of get back that would claim dozens of lives and turn Jacksonville into what observers called America's most dangerous city for young cats involved in the rap game. The retaliation came swift and brutal. Youngin Ace, Kenyatta Bullard, was shot 8 times in a drive-by near Town Center Parkway on June 5, 2018, surviving the attack. His brother Trayvon Bullard and friends Royale Devon Smith Jr. and Jacoby Deshad Groover were killed. The hit was seen as payback for Brown's death, pushing the conflict to a whole new level of savagery. What made this beef particularly destructive was how it got amplified and celebrated through social media and drill rap music. The feud has been significantly amplified by drill rap music and social media platforms like YouTube and Instagram. Both ATK and KTA rappers have released diss tracks that mock deceased rivals. The most notorious example of this phenomenon was Youngin Ace's track Who I Smoke, which gained over 14 million views and directly named deceased KTA members, such as Youngin Ace's Who I Smoke, 18 million views by May 2021, and Fulio's When I See You remix, 6 million views. These tracks name specific victims, escalating tensions, and serving as both propaganda and battlegrounds for the gangs. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office started treating these videos and social media posts like crime scenes, monitoring every bar and every post for evidence of ongoing criminal activity. Social media posts, including Ksoo's alleged bragging about murders, have further fueled the conflict, drawing national attention and complicating law enforcement efforts. The police compared this new wave to gang graffiti of the 1980s, but noted that social media made the threats and celebrations of violence way more public and inflammatory. The culture that emerged from this beef was unlike anything the streets had ever seen. Young Bulls wasn't just committing murders, they was turning those murders into entertainment, creating elaborate music videos that celebrated death and promised more smoke to come. JSO monitors such content for evidence, comparing it to gang graffiti. The human cost of this cultural transformation was absolutely devastating. The ATK-KTA feud has had a profound impact on Jacksonville, creating a climate of fear in affected neighborhoods. The violence has disrupted daily life, strained police and emergency services, and led to the loss of young lives. Community organizations like Mad Dads was trying to organize vigils and outreach programs to steer youth away from gangs, but the pervasive influence of social media and the allure of rap fame was too strong. The beef's most prominent figures became household names, not for their musical talent, but for their involvement in an escalating cycle of violence. Julio Fulio, whose government name was Charles Andrew Jones II, became the face of KTA's resistance against ATK. His music videos and social media posts were getting millions of views, turning real grief and authentic anger into viral content.
I'm like, look, bro, it's hot outside, like the police, you know, I ain't even thinking about no, like, it's like, I ain't even talking, like, bro, the police.
Julio's attempts to protect younger cats and his crew often fell on deaf ears, as the allure of street credibility and the pressure to retaliate proved stronger than concerns about safety or consequences. On the ATK side, figures like Youngin Ace and Ksoo became symbols of retaliation and street justice. Their music celebrated violence with a level of brazenness that shocked even seasoned observers of hip-hop culture. Ksoo's music videos frequently include lyrics bragging about smoking Bibby, a euphemism for killing him.
So, you know what I mean? We just take it and smile. I smile even if I'm upset, so that's it right now.
That's right.
The tragedy of this whole situation wasn't just the number of lives lost, but the ages of the cats getting smoked. Many of the victims were still teenagers or young adults who had barely even started living. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.